My name's Colin Ledbetter. This is the Built Different podcast. I'm here at the Augusta Fire Department with these two gentlemen. I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
Joe Struckoff.
Okay.
My name is Donald Struckoff.
And how long do you guys have?
I'm celebrating my 50th year here.
Okay.
I've been on the department for a member for 56 years, and when we were young, we were allowed to train with the fire department before we were 18 years old.
Okay.
So I've been doing that since 1957.
57.
Yeah. But we couldn't, well, it gets to be long because there was only so many people allowed to be on the department and vote at that time. And 15 was the number. So if you were exceeding that, then you just showed up for practices, but you didn't do any voting. So you weren't an official member. They had a bunch of kids that, they actually had a junior fire department, and they had a junior chief at that time. Most of them guys would be 75, 78 years old by now, but they had them at that time.
Okay. So with all that time, so you've probably seen a lot of things change in your time. Let's talk a little bit about just the natural things that you guys do differently now in the firefighting world than maybe back when you first started.
Back when I first got started, actually, I used to follow my dad around, and they had 2 packs, air packs, and actually they were, so now everybody that's on the trucks get an air pack, which is which is health, you know, our health is concerned about that. We have better extrication tools. The equipment has improved. Donald was around when he bought the first 53 pumper that's over on the back corner. Now we have trucks that are capable of pumping out a lot more water than what that one was ever dreamed of making and hauling and stuff. So quite a bit of changes as far as technology. The radios are better. The you know, the notification. There's just, you know, all kinds of different things that have improved.
Lots of different stuff, yeah. How big of an area do you guys cover?
68 square miles.
68 square miles, okay.
Yeah, it's like 14 miles long.
Yeah, and I know like driving up here and stuff, there was a lot of twists and turns, so I guarantee you it's not a straight shot from one side to the other, is it? Yeah, so it probably, I mean, and when you guys get called out, do you guys just head straight there, or do you guys meet here, or how does that kind of work?
It depends upon where the call is. Again, we try to come here to the station because as you can see our gear is here. We try to usually make a full crew to go out. Some of us do follow, you know, afterwards, depending upon what type of call it is.
Let's talk about the range of calls that you guys might go on. Like, do you guys respond to every accident, or is it mostly just fire?
Yeah. Well, we assist St. Charles County Ambulance, so we'll run on basically anything from, this may sound funny, but stubbed toes to cardiac arrests to car wrecks to, you know, on the medical side of it, house fires, you know, brush fires, trees in the road. Like I said, we're kind of more the country type people. We get called, we go and solve the problem.
Let's talk about something that you guys might stick out to you in your career. I know we kind of touched base on this a little bit earlier, but like a call or something that sticks out, and you guys can share what you want or what you don't want. But I'm sure you guys got something like that within.
Well, we get weird stuff sometimes. One time a well house caught fire down around Defiance. We got there and it had its submergible pump, and the pump was running, and the well house burnt because there was no way. I mean, it was temperature was about 0, and it sat there and it kept pumping, and this the upper part of that pressure tank started to bulge out, and it was hot, and it wasn't quite red, but it was pretty close, and it kept bulging out until that straight up and down pressure tank looked like a light bulb standing there.
Oh,
And nobody had a camera, and even then, if would have had one, trying to make one work in zero weather after it'd been in a warm car, it would have been pretty hard to do. This was in 1965, I guess, or thereabouts. So.
we kind of talked about a little bit about like as far as gear changes and stuff. How have your trucks changed? I know you guys got an older truck sitting back there and stuff, but like equipment wise on the trucks, pumps and stuff like that. I'm sure like the pumps have upgraded, so you could probably pump more water.
Yeah, we can pump more and we can haul more.
Yeah.
And that's also a function of where we are, because if when we got that 53 Chevy, that thing weighed just about 17,000 pounds loaded. We had quite a few bridges at that time that were rated at 8 tons on county roads. So if we'd had a bigger truck, we couldn't have went anywhere with it either. So.
Yeah. Now this looks like a newer spot for you guys. Was there an older fire station that you guys had before?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is this more centrally located to your area, or?
It's pretty close to the same. It was in town. It was only about ain't more than a half mile away from here.
Okay.
And it was a small unit. These trucks were too tall to fit in it. The only one that would fit in would have been that 53 Chevy.
Okay.
Because
And we had to retrofit the trucks that we did have, and they looked funny. 'Cause like I said, we cut the back bumpers and stuff off to get them in there, and we literally had them set bumper to bumper in the back against the back wall and stuff. It was pretty tight fit, so we had to come up with something, and we finally lucked out. We found this property, and we were able to build on it and get to what we have today.
Yeah, get something a little nicer. Yeah. Anything else you guys want to talk about or add or anything?
I would say we're very fortunate as far as the members that are here. A lot of them, we talk to other people and stuff. You're going to find out several of the other people again started here and got into professional firefighters, and they in turn still come back and volunteer for us and help us out. So we got a couple of us that retired. There's I was trying to think on the way in how many people we have, but we have a bunch of them that are still active and at other departments, and they're very active with us. So the history and the training and stuff that comes through with that part of it really has helped.
Okay.
So
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on.
Hey, no problem. Thank you,
Appreciate
sir.
it. It was a pleasure.
all right, thanks.
Okay, I'm John Freeman, Assistant Chief with Augusta Fire. Been on Augusta Fire 35 years.
I'm Paul Hopen. I am the chief of the Augusta Fire. I've been chief for a couple of years and assistant chief about 14 years, and been on the department for 42 years.
Okay. So you guys got some experience and time here, kind of like day to day. I guess let's talk about a little bit about like some of the calls that you guys remember. I know that there's always kind of those calls whenever you're a first responder, but let's just talk about that a little bit.
Go ahead, Paul.
I think the worst call was last spring for me ever. We had 2 young people perish in the fire. My response time was slow to the call. I was in Washington with my daughter, but to get there and still be able to realize what a tragedy fire can be, and being in the right place at the right time, even as first responders, is so crucial and so critical. A paid department has everybody right there.
Absolutely.
And I say to be in that right place, sometimes you just don't understand the right thing. But to do the paid thing out here is we just don't have the money with it all goes on. So
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about training. I didn't really get to hit on it earlier. Do you guys have like an academy that you send new hires to, or?
John would be the one.
Yeah, I was training officer for quite a few years.
Okay.
I don't remember how many years, but we do have a St. Charles County Fire Academy. We don't make it mandatory because it's about a 6-month program, 2 nights a week and most Saturdays. I did go through it a number of years ago. It's a great program, but we do not require that. We do a lot of in-house training. We train twice a month. Every Tuesday we have something going on, so we train twice on the Tuesdays during the month. We train along the same criteria as the academy does.
Okay. And I kind of hit on it on the last one, but let's talk a little bit about the vast area that you guys have. I know I think it was like he said
68 square miles.
68 square miles.
And we kind of talked a little bit about the roads and stuff. Like driving through here, it definitely does not seem like it could be a straight shot to anywhere. I'm sure that kind of affects response time and stuff like that. So let's kind of talk about that as far as how you guys navigate that. So you said that typically you guys like to try to meet here. So does a lot of people, everyone kind of meet here is the goal?
Yes, that's the goal. Obviously, the call is right next to your house. You need to go there and get things done and take care of the problem, or at least get it started. A lot of the stuff out here, like you say, the roads are rule, but also the worst times is storm damage. We get a bad storm comes through here. It might take a whole day before we get power restored because there's a storm here. There was a storm somewhere else.
Yeah.
Winter time too is the snow removal can be an issue. And a lot of times I'll bring a tractor up here with a blade on it, leave it set in case we get somewhere we can't get to.
Yeah.
We can at least get our situation taken care of.
Yeah.
We do run 2 stations. I don't know if you.
Oh, I did not know those.
No, we have a station 2 in Defiance, which I run out of.
Okay.
And we have the same equipment down there. We've got a pumper, a tanker, and a brush truck.
Okay, so is that kind of, is it like, are they stationed like one side to the other, or how does that, like, is it quicker to get from one spot to a certain area, or?
Our dispatcher will determine that with CAD,
Okay,
computer-aided
okay.
dispatch. But a lot of times we're about 10 miles apart. And we're 5 miles from our district line, and they're about 3 miles from the district line on the other side, or more than that, I guess. With the
How many people do you usually have staffed here?
It varies day to day, hour to hour.
Yeah.
We've got several guys out of town deer hunting right now, so they're not around.
we have around 25 volunteers.
Yeah.
Okay. So does that kind of, like, is everyone, if they're around, they're just kind of expected to show up, or how does that work?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we don't have any schedules or anything that we schedule people
Right.
to, you're on call. If you're,
Right.
like you said, if you're around,
You're going.
hopefully you're going.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. And you guys probably have like some sort of notification system for that then.
Yeah, we have our county dispatch system.
Okay, and they'll just let you know. Or,
Yeah.
Okay.
Multiple ways. We have on the phone with the phone type, and also we have pagers too.
Okay.
So multiple ways to get it notified.
Okay. Anything else you guys like to add?
We've been real lucky with our current batch of newer volunteers.
Yeah.
We've got great people, and they've all stuck around. A lot of times you get 2 or 3 people join, and
Yeah.
it whittles down to 1 pretty fast, just because it's a big time commitment.
Yeah.
But this last group of volunteers we brought on have been really good, and it's really nice when you hear even the newer people say, "It's my second family."
And I'm sure that helps with morale too, bringing
Yeah.
in new blood, and you just see
Yeah.
the legacy continue. Let's talk a little. How long has Augusta Fire Department been
Started in 1904, so 120 years.
Yeah. And then the station wasn't here. It was.
It was in Augusta, the first station.
Yeah, it was in Augusta.
And of course, notification was back then was a big fire bell, which is still sitting out here today.
Right.
So and word of mouth, a lot of times one would yell from one house to the other to the in town, and finally enough volunteers would get going. I mean, hand pumper was the first one, and actually this '53 Chevy that's sitting on the other side of the building was our first new truck in 1953. So.
And And you guys use that for parades now? And
For
stuff like
parades, yeah.
that? Yeah. It's definitely cool.
I joined in '89, and that was still our frontline pumper.
Really?
That truck was in service until '94, '95,
Yeah,
something like that. 19. So it was an old truck and still in service.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that was
Still
my
going.
truck at Station 2 for quite a few years.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for coming on.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
I'm Tony. I've been with the Augusta Fire for 23 years now. So
I'm George. I've been with the fire department for 7 months.
Okay. All right. So we'll kind of jump into it a little bit. We'll start with you. So you're pretty new then. Don't even have a year on. So how does it feel to, I guess, be in a fire department that has so much, you've got so much history here. You've got guys that have been here for years. Let's just kind of talk about that. How does that make you feel?
It feels great. I feel very honored and feel like I very much am, doing something important for the community.
Yeah, there's a lot of information to learn and soak up here. So yeah. So let's jump into a little bit. So with all that time, I'm sure there's probably a call that you've been on that kind of sticks out to you a little bit. Let's talk about that.
I guess it's the very first call that I really wasn't even on. It's the reason why I joined. There was, I was at work one morning, and my children were at home, and they called me on the work, and they said, "Dad, the back of the yard is so smoky, we can't see the backyard." And we went outside, and there's fire coming up out of the chimney. So what should we do? I said, well, first of all, call 911 and get outside. So after that fire, there was no damage to the house or anything, but it was just something that I felt was necessary to join the fire department because they came and they took care of my property. And it just felt like if these guys dropped everything and came and helped me when I wasn't at home, that I needed to do it when I was available to help other people out.
Right, makes
And
you
it's-
want to feel a part of it.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it's just a family here because, if you know it's somebody's house, you're even going to make a more of an attempt to go and help somebody.
Right. So I was talking to your chief earlier, and he was talking about how you guys have two different stations, right?
Yes,
so, do you report to this one, or do you report to the other one?
When there's a call that comes in, we've got the 86, and then there's a 14, which is this pumper up here. A lot of times I won't go on that call because it's from station 1, the 14 meaning 1.
Right.
I usually run out of the Defiance
Okay.
shed because it's a 24 number for the pumper.
Right.
So
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about all of your training and stuff, and like your time here. I've hit on a little bit with others, but let's talk about how training has changed a little bit in equipment and stuff like that.
it's gotten to be a lot better training. It's more, I guess we've got a couple of the officers, training officers. They're really on to, one of them is a full-time firefighter
Okay.
with New Malley.
Okay.
And, he sees the everyday,
lives it.
and he's still in our district. And so, the training is, and it's a requirement of, it's usually a couple of 3 or 4 hours every week that we have training.
How close do you guys live to your station that you respond to?
I'm about 2 miles.
Okay.
Say probably about 5 minutes out.
Okay. Is it like a requirement for you guys to live close, or just
Within the district.
within the district?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you guys like to add?
Well, actually, George even is going to the EMT school right now.
Let's talk
Maybe you want
about
to tell
that.
them that, George.
Yeah, currently I am almost finished with EMT school.
Okay.
I kind of got inspired to kind of do it thanks to this place here because obviously being new, there's not really much I can do because I'm not really fully trained or experienced. And we go on like a lot of medical calls, and I kind of just wanted to do more while on calls rather than just kind of, sit and observe.
Is there a lot of people that are medically trained here, or is it just kind of?
There is several, but
Okay.
not a lot of them.
Yeah.
You know, it's the John and the Paul, the chief, and then George is going now, and we've got other ones that do a lot of hands-on and just learn as
Learn as
it
you
just
go.
it's just kind of if it's emergency, you do something you bet
Absolutely.
you would do out of the normal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Anything else?
No, I think that's it.
That's it.
Bob Struckoff.
He was ready. Laura Buchanan.
How long have you been with the fire department?
I think 60 years.
60 years.
The retired chief.
How long have you been?
10 plus.
So let's kind of talk about with, I'm sure you guys have had it, but there's probably one call that sticks out or multiple ones. Let's kind of go through those and let's talk about those.
Well, one call, I guess some neighbors down here seen some dogs get in a half-ass dried up lake bed, and they got tight. So we decided we was going to find a little boat and had enough rope to get somehow the other around the pond or whatever it did. And it had a young firefighter girl. She was pretty light and could handle dogs, and we pulled her across that dry bed and till she got to the dogs and pulled the rest away. That was a real in a night. It was a real interesting thing that night. Yeah, that was just a light one. But there's more of them. I can't remember them all. That one stuck to me pretty good because
Right.
I was kind of worried about getting her hurt.
What about you?
I think every call we go on is unique in its own way. I think every call is an adventure. Every call has a different purpose or a different meaning. No, I mean, there's nothing really that sticks out. It's every day, has different adventures and memories with each and every member.
Absolutely. And you guys, is it twice a month that you guys train and everything? You show up here, you train?
3 times a month.
3 times.
And meeting.
Well, the first Tuesday and the fourth Tuesday. The second Tuesday is work night, and third
Work night.
is tonight, business
Yes,
night.
business night, business meeting.
Okay. Let's talk about, and I've hit this with every group kind of, I just like to hear the different answers, but the different things you've seen change with firefighting over the years.
Oh,
More
lot more
creative.
yeah, more training, a lot more training than what we used to have. Used to be on a Sunday afternoon, and
Yeah.
then we'll have a fish fry after training or something, and it was not near as demanding as it is now. But now we got calls right after. I mean, I don't know how many times the truck went out this week already. It's just
As our district grows,
Yeah, it
our
just-
calls are going to grow, and the demand and for more personnel.
we go
and-
out on every medical call,
Right.
and that really just does a lot. Thank goodness we have a fire call.
Do you guys know the call volume that you guys kind of have right now, just per week?
Now I don't. You probably talk to Donald. He probably the one that
It
knew.
varies.
I don't.
Yeah.
I can't keep track.
Some
of it.
days there's 3, some days there's none. Some weeks there's none. Some days, I think we've had upwards of 4.
Yeah.
And every call is different. Nothing's ever the same.
I can't remember how many from last year to this year. I can't
I think it
remember.
was 290,
So, it could be. I can't remember.
290s, I think.
Yeah.
Too much. Too old for that. Remembering all that stuff.
But wise.
What?
But wise.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of history, obviously, with the fire department. You've probably seen a lot of people come in and out and leave and retire and all sorts of stuff. Is it 20 some people that you have with the fire department now?
I think so. It's about staying about the same.
Yeah.
About 26, 27, I think.
Is that changed over the years? Like,
Yeah. We got
Comes
pretty
and
low
goes.
a couple years ago.
Right.
We couldn't get no help
Right.
anymore, and then, we had this deal with New Millie that we thought we had some people kind of thought we had to merge with them, and then we got to thinking about that. Well, we just put a campaign out, maybe we can get some volunteers. So that worked kind of, so
Yeah, it's worked.
better than us doing that, I think, at that time anyway. May happen someday, but not right now.
how long were you the chief for?
24 years,
At 20,
2002,
20,
98 to 22,
yeah.
I think. I can't remember, something like that. Pretty long time.
A long time.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Very long. But to be here, for 60 years, that's a major,
Yeah.
that's a milestone. That's a
Yeah,
major
you've seen-
accomplishment.
Seen a lot of different stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Has it always been the 2 stations? You've always had 2 spots?
Well, Defiance, they came along later. Augusta had some high pressure water or a hose or something. They go to a hydrant down there in the middle of town they could use, but there was nobody very active in it at all down there. And then we had this bond issue, I guess, at the time said we'd build a station down there, and then we got some people down there and got a truck down there.
And I'm at a station 2 with.
Yeah, you're a station 2 girl.
I'm at a station 2 with the assistant chief. And I'm one of 2 females. We now have another female
Really?
on the department.
Is she here or is she at station 2 as well?
She's at station 2 with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we got a good crew. Everybody's got a good.
How long
Each
has station
station.
2 been there?
The new building, I am not.
So they're in a new building as well?
Well,
It's kind of a garage.
kind of was, I think, we're supposed to be looking for a
We're in
ground.
desperate
the
need of
Put a
ground.
new building or something to get it out of the floodplain. See, it's in the floodplain.
Oh, okay.
But everybody's tight on the ground, won't
Yeah.
give it up. So
Yeah.
until somebody lightens up and get us some ground, we can do something. We can't do anything now.
Yeah.
So
And how
I'm
long has
stuck.
this station been here?
2008.
Okay. Anything else you guys want to add?
No,
I mean,
I don't know. It's just
it's
pretty
like-
normal stuff.
like John touched on, I think, it's our second family, if not our first some days.
Yeah. Yeah, you can definitely tell. Everyone's pretty close, and it's a tightly knit group. And how long has it been here? It's been
120 years.
120 years. So that's a lot of time and a lot of.
A lot of history went by.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, absolutely. And like I said, you go on calls with each and every individual here. You have a bond. You have a tight bond. You have a.
Well, you got to work together, and that's a big part of it. That's why we have the training so they can work together. So. Yep. Well, okay.
Thanks for coming on.
Yep. All right. Thank you.
So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
My name's Jim Schrank. I've been with Augusta Fire for about 5 years now.
Okay. What'd you do before Augusta?
I was a St. Charles County police officer for 39 years.
39 years. That's a long time.
Well, I went on many calls out here with the Augusta Fire Department.
Right. Yeah. So okay. Yeah. I didn't even think about that. St. Charles County. So with St. Charles County PD, were you did you get your own area that you predominantly worked out of?
The county's broken up into 8 sections or zones. This is zone 8. I live out here, so mostly I worked out here.
What are the differences of going from policing all those years to coming into fire?
Oh, it's completely different.
Yeah.
It's completely different.
Yeah.
There's nobody trying to kill me.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to fight me. Everybody's happy when we show up.
Yeah. I could definitely see that. So are you at this station here, or I know there's another station over that way, which?
I'm at Station 2 in Defiance.
Station 2, okay. How many, let's see, where was I going with that? So you're at Station 2, how many people are usually at that station?
Well, you have to remember this is a volunteer fire
Right.
department. So I believe there's 8 or 9 people actually assigned to
Okay.
it. On any given day, you can get from 2 to 5 or 6
That show up.
that actually show up.
Okay. When you guys like have training, do you guys do it all at one station?
No,
Or
we train at both stations.
okay.
Some nights we have rig check, so you're at your respective station to check the apparatus, all the trucks that are there, and then other nights we come down here to Station 1 for in-service training.
Let's talk a little bit about. I mean, I'm sure you probably had it either with the police department or the fire department, but let's talk about a call that you remember going on, whether it was with the police department or the fire department, something that just sticks out in your head.
There are many,
Yeah.
many. The worst fire call was, of course, the one in January of this year in Defiance, where we lost 2 little boys.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that one, someone had mentioned that. That's hard. So you had how many years with St. Charles County?
39.
39. So you got about 44 some years in.
Yes,
That's awesome. Well,
makes me old.
not that old, just a lot of experience.
Trust me, I'm old.
Well, I
And lots of
appreciate.
experience.
That's awesome.
Although Bob has more experience than anybody.
That's what I've been hearing. Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
been here forever.
Yeah, yeah, he shared some of it. It's a lot. It's a lot. So
And Donald has even more.
yeah.
If you've gotten to talk to
Yep,
Donald,
I got to talk to Don as well.
he's an amazing man.
Yeah, he is. You're kind of unique because you still got to see some of the guys float through here. Was there? I mean, you've probably met a lot of the guys. Is there a lot of people that came through here and have left and went other places and stuff like that?
You know, I wasn't as close to the guys on the fire department when I was a policeman,
Right.
because mostly I was in police work.
Right.
And I met these guys on accidents and fatality accidents, fires. Well, the faces have changed over the years here, but the core group is still
You
here.
still got-
They
yeah.
are still here,
Still got your core guys. Yeah.
as in any organization.
Yeah. So I appreciate you coming on.
Not a problem. Thank you guys for being here.
Absolutely.
Thanks for telling our story.
Absolutely. Why don't you tell us something about this truck?
Well, this is a 1953 Chevrolet truck. The fire department had a 1939 Chevrolet that was a kind of a home-built truck. We bought it, and that was a wreck, or basically, and we got it running again. And it couldn't pump enough water and have enough pressure for us. So they decided they would need this. So they had a meeting and decided that they would have a fund drive, and they raised $6,000 to buy this. And of course, that wasn't enough.
What year was this?
This would be 1953.
Okay.
And then and so the truck, I believe, was $8,200 for the total price. That was for the bed. I think the cabin chassis, I cannot find in any records that we ever paid for the cabin chassis. And I think the dealer in town, who was former fire chief, probably donated it, or he got some people together to donate the cabin chassis. Now, this is Central St. Louis body on there. They went to the bank for another $2,000 to be able to afford the whole thing. And they did that, and that's a long story by itself. The truck itself was probably meant to be in the military, because the military used that particular type of truck on the domestic post situation, where they used them to haul targets and furniture and stuff around. It was basically had a flatbed on them, and But the one thing about them is those trucks didn't have heavy valves in them or high temperature valves. And so when we got this thing going, when we went over Klondike Hill a few times, we warped valves on it, so we had to replace the valves in it. And so and they had to beef up the frame a little bit underneath because it was carrying more weight than what it was supposed to. And so we could look underneath there, you could see where they bridged the frame underneath. It took a year to, we didn't get it till 1954. I mean, it was kind of like it is now a little bit. You could order things, but you couldn't get them right away. And they just decided that was the one. They had an argument amongst the firefighters at that time. The professional truck drivers that were in the fire department said that you really ought to not get a Chevy, a Ford, or a Dodge because their engines are too small. What you should go looking for is a White or a Mack or an International or another one. I can't think of the other one right now. It's a Diamond T. And basically they had bigger engines.
Right.
And for the hills, they said, well, you can't beat free for a cabin chassis. So that's the way it turned out. The tank is 500 gallons. The pump is 500 gallons a minute, and it can do it. Now I don't know that we ever did use that stretcher that's on top of that thing. I don't ever remember taking that thing off of there at any call, because that's an old Army stretcher, and trying to keep somebody on one of them things, I haven't figured out how to do it. You got to tie them on because it's like a board.
Right. So this truck came into service. You remember what year?
In 1954. It was Good Friday, 1954, when they got it, because I was, and it just was an accident. I happened to be there. It was they were testing it at the Legion Hall. In 1954, it was really dry, and you couldn't get it close enough to a pond to try to check the whether the thing would actually draft water, because that's what they have to do. Because at that time, no hydrants. We didn't have any hydrants here until 1976. Anyhow, there was a cistern that had water in it at the American Legion Hall, and that's where they were pumping it out, or pumping water out of that cistern. And that was water was precious at that time, because you had to find somebody that had water in a cistern that didn't need all of it.
Yeah.
It was.
When did this truck stop being in service?
In 1995.
In 95.
We cracked the head on it. We cracked the head on it several times, and we got it repaired. But that time, it was going to be out of service so long, so we finally just decided that no, we would, and we actually sold it to another gentleman, and he fixed the engine, and he had it standing in the shed, and then he sold it to another guy, and then he sold it to a repair shop in Washington, and they had it standing in their showroom window. It was an old dealership, and they had it standing in there for a while, and then he needed the space. So, okay, we can bring it back here.
Came back.
Yeah, so we got it back here when this shed was built, and that would be in 2008, 2009, and actually 2009. And before that, we didn't have a place to put it, because our the firehouse in town there, we had a mini pumper like this and a tanker, and they were parked up to the bumper, and 6 inches between the front bumper of that truck and the door. If you wanted to get to the other side of the truck, you had to open the door. And then this truck had the one bay all by itself.
Yeah.
So it was, those two rust streaks you see on the vent on this side, that come from a door hitting that thing. When the thing was about 2 years old, they were backing the thing in the shed after a call, and the guy got out to open the door, the guy backed up, and the door wasn't closed, of course, and it got that far that it bent that, and they got it stopped, and they thought, well, let's fix it. No, let's let the dude go. It ain't bothering anything.
Why don't we go up there and we'll check some things out, and you can kind of show us what you would do if you showed up on a call.
Okay. Well, this is now if you drove it and you had to go over Klondike Hill, you knew that you would probably be in dual low to get over it.
Right.
And you'd be going about 5.5, 6 miles an hour. This truck, of course, did not have a radio when it was bought. Or we didn't have a radio until 1964 of any kind, or a two-way of any kind. Now, as when you park this truck, the regular emergency brake or regular parking brake doesn't work because the pump runs off of the drive shaft, and what you do with that handle in the middle is shove it forward, and you take the drive line to the rear end out of the line, and you put the pump in a drive line then too. So now your parking brake doesn't work. This thing here is a brake lever, stop lever. You flip that thing over and stomp on the brakes, and then you have brakes.
Okay.
It can't move. At least it ain't supposed to be able to move. It moved on us once, and okay. Now to get the truck running, you have to put the thing in high gear, put the truck in high gear, and then you come back here and you open. Well, see, this thing does not have a regular valve, single valve controlling it in, and if you're going to be drafting water out of a cistern or a pond, you would just hook these up to here, and then that would be your intake. You would for an output, you would open up this. And then you would move this to create or to increase the speed of the engine, and we don't have any lights right now, but this is the valve for the reel, and basically to get any, or if we're going to be using more than just the reel, which is maybe 10 gallons a minute, that's about what you're going to get. Well, actually, you're supposed to be able to get 30, but in a half-inch hose, you really got to push it to get 30. But what you would do then, if you needed more water, you would go to the back of the truck here. Now we've got these old fire coats hanging on the back of this thing. These aren't the originals, but they're the replacements.
Right.
And what we have here then is a what they call a skid load, and you've probably seen this in fire. But if you would grab these, well, you have to get these coats out of the way first. Then you would grab these and pull on these, and then you would have 100 or two ends of 150 foot apiece laying on the ground, hooked up to a 2.5-inch hose, and then you would hook that 2.5-inch hose for our length that you needed it to get to your fire and around it. So that's the way we fought fires for all the way up until actually what we did. We had that, and we also had a 1.5-inch hose that we hooked there, that was hooked up all the time to it later on. But, but we didn't have enough money to buy that many nozzles for it before that. That's pretty much pretty good. I mean, when I started the fire department, we had a hydrant wrench, but it was laying in the bottom of the toolbox, and the only time we ever used it is when we had to go to Washington to help them, because they needed water up in Marthasville, and we could get water quicker in Washington that way. It was a mutual aid type of thing. People helped. See, before we had radios, it was like 1964. You did needed help, you had to get on the phone to call somebody.
Yeah.
And I guess, well, this probably way beside the point, but where there was a fire at a house in 1964 before we had any two-way radios. It was on a hot, warm summer day, in the middle of the afternoon, and the power was off. There was no power. So, and it messed up the, so my father was down, was working out in the field, he saw it, and he hollered that this house was on fire, not knowing whether anybody could hear him. However, there is no fans or radio, nothing. So my mother heard him, but he was, my God, better than a half mile away, and heard him mention the name of the house was on fire. So she gets on the phone and calls, and it doesn't go to the fire department. It finally gets another person in town, and who was her husband was a member of the fire department for a long time, but he was retired by then. And Mom, she said, well, try it again. And she got the same number again. She says, oh, I think I know what's happening. That's a party line, and you can't get them on a party line. Let's try a private line. Let's go to the Augusta garage. They're on a private line, and they're on a fire department. So this lady calls the fire department. Well, this fire siren does not ring because electricity's off. So then two of the guys at the garage are on the fire department. They drive the truck to the fire. They run the siren, and then somebody else heard it, and one of the ladies starts driving around to where these people might be working who are on the fire department to let them know that there is a fire there. So she's running all over the country trying to pick people or find people to run. Meantime, the neighbor sees this fire, and he gets in his pickup truck, goes to and heads for town. He tries to call, can't get him, says, I have to go to town, let somebody know. So it's a one-lane road. They meet right at the top of a hill, and then he has to back his truck up so the fire truck can get over to the fire. They get there, and well, the fire is coming out of the door, and well, they knocked it down, and then there were 500 gallons of water, and they were going to be out of water pretty quick. So what they did, they dumped the rest of it in a cistern, and they had a portable pump in here, and we ain't got one just laying around here right now. But anyhow, they put that into that, or drafted water out of that cistern, and hauled water from town. We had a cistern at the firehouse, an 8,000 gallon cistern there that we could haul water to that place, and so basically we got that fire out. But with all that stuff going wrong, we still got the fire out, which is pretty unusual, because when you give that fire that much of a head start, they usually take it all. It was unusual, and it's the first time I ever went to a fire that the fire had come out of the door, and we were able to put it out. And it kind of opened everybody's eyes up. Well, at that time already, they were thinking about buying a tank or getting a tank truck, which they did 2 years later.
Okay. Well, thanks for sharing.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
a lot of history.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff happened to this truck, and the people that ran it, they worked hard at it, and they put a lot of sweat into it. Let's put it that way.
I'm glad we can share a little bit of that.
Yeah, one thing working with the fire department, the guys that were on it ever since I've been on it, and they didn't worry about what they got done, and they didn't worry about who got credit for it. Just get it done. And I think most fire departments run, or when they run, that's the way they run.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Okay, all right.